Hi, it's Rick. I'm with Ops Halo. You remember, I'm the corporate beverage operator with combat stress over liquor management and inventory control. 35 years behind a bar will do that to you. Now, you just happen to have caught me in one of my favorite places in my world, the kitchen, and I was about to shake up a dirty Greek martini all the way up. And while I was doing that, I figured I'd bring you up to speed on my angle for some of the coursework in demand validation, cold outreach, and some other things in that process as well. Now, I'm going to start with a nice cold glass. I'm going to get that glass chilling while we're talking. That way, it's ready when we are. I also like nice potato vodka for my for anything shaken. I really do like Kettle One. This one, you like to say, it's my go-to. The other thing that you're going to need for this recipe is some nice Kalamata olives. These are available at Food Lion, my grocery store down the street, and they got a nice brine that flavors vodka real well. So while the glass chills, I figured I would break the ice on some of the information that we've worked through in the classroom from my viewpoint. The buzz in this class and for the course so far has been focused on various angles of data or of validation. So early customer discovery, or excuse me, early discovery, and then customer validation. And so far, this class has felt like the purpose is to validate the message and the customer by methods of everything from AI assisted cold outreach through Twin and other social media platforms, right down to the Shoe Leather Express, really out there beating the streets. And I'm finding some variation in where I am in the process versus the path on paper. Now, I'll take this opportunity to combine my ingredients and shake for just a second because that's what I told you that I was doing. Now, you notice this spout ain't nothing special, right? All it is a conduit to allow me to pour as much as my heart desires, right? And that might not always be good for business to have all, to be able to just freely pour, but as a bartender, this is the nature of my craft. So now that I've got my vodka in there, I'm going to take just a little bit of Kalamata juice to make it dirty, and I'm going to shake for about, I don't know, 6 seconds. I didn't look at the clock, so we'll just have to leave it like that. Okay? Now, if I can pour. Oh, that's a messy. Hey, who did that? That was a lot of alcohol. Well, I guess I'll just have to figure it out later. Actually, that's what the whole business does is they just figure it out later when something crazy happens where there's no way all that alcohol was ever going to fit inside that tiny glass, and here I was just pouring my hind parts off. Now, most multi-unit beverage operators here on planet Earth are flying blind in certain areas, and liquor just happens to be one of them. Some choose willful ignorance by only measuring their purchases over their sales and ignore on hand beverage control. Or it's possible that they just don't see how they can control what requires decision support. They believe they know, but they do not know what is port. They can't reliably attribute any variance, and they cannot consistently enforce accountability. The methods are antiquated, and nobody's done any advancements or disruptive development in this area of beverage operations for God knows 20 years. Like this martini right here. Now, I like to free pour, but it doesn't always help. And the plain old spout doesn't get you anything but a cramp when you pour it like that. It's tough to manage. Now, The problem we're dealing with, I have to try to share, is not just a minor inefficiency in the way beverage is managed globally. It's a systemic operational failure costing operators millions of dollars annually. Right? For a single bar, anywhere between 400 for how much volume you might do, anywhere between $400 and $1,200 in revenue that you lose just because you don't know what you've poured. So the demand in validation in corporate beverage control is wherever the money is. And the real solution is not just emerging, it exists. Ops Halo Smart Pour transforms the most overlooked object in the bar, the spout, and turns it into precision IoT measurement instrument. This spout requires no back bar workflow change, no retraining. You don't have to use a scale to determine how much is left in the bottle. There's no friction. It's just the truth. Real-time depletion per pour, per bottle, per station, streamed right to the cloud and converted into decision-grade data. You see there in the dashboard. We eliminate counting. We eliminate the guesswork. We eliminate the operational fog that has defined beverage management for decades. So we just spent the last, I think, 3, 4 classes really trying to find out where the heat and traction is through validation of risky assumptions and experimentation with demand and the expectation of the mom test type evaluation. And what we found so far is heat and traction. There's a lot of inventory cycle pressure. There's a clipboard to keyboard tremors and spill event amnesia that occurs between the time that occurs between the times that you're counting your physical inventory product. 70% of bar BevOps management says that this is a persistent pain of not knowing what you've poured time and time again. There's there's checking and rechecking and the constant question, okay, so hey, this is what we sold. This is what you're telling me we have on hand. 60% of operators say it's guesswork because of these methods they use right here. Oh, let me see. That's how much is left in that bottle. Would you say, I mean, if the bottle's this big and it's only this much, is that a 0.3 or is that a 0.2? What's your 0.2 is my 0.3. So it always leaves the question out there. The truth, they say, it's guesswork. Now, the trouble is that attribution for variance today is functionally impossible. When weekly inventory shows a variance, operators have to ask the question, why? And we already know that 60% of them just say they're guessing, holding it between there's no true measure. This isn't incompetence. It is the unavoidable outcome of a measurement system built on visual estimation and manual counts. It's not sustainable at scale, but they do the guesswork anyway. So without a precision instrument or a measurement style or method, precision management is impossible. Smart Pour changes that. So we go to the experiment logic of a parallel build and test method. We run a disciplined parallel track to build, test, learn, and advance. We designed experiments to collapse the highest level risk assumptions first. Things like operator willingness or persistence of accountability pressure, attribution difficulty, workflow acceptance for bartenders, the physical usability of the spout. Does it pour? Each experiment unlocks the next build cycle, and each build cycle accelerates the next experiment. This is how we de-risk the hardware at speed. Our riskiest assumption has been whether a high complexity operator or operators would commit time to this project without a prototype. And we tested it directly. Would you participate in an early pilot when hardware is available? If the success threshold is 40%, yes. We actually got 80% saying, bring me spouts. 3 of them are waiting, and the other 2 are part of a group and their ownership is changing. So this is an extraordinary pre-prototype evaluation and validation. The market isn't hesitant, it's hungry. So if we follow our parallel build plus test track, it puts us on a path. Looking here, you can see the riskiest assumptions in the pre-prototype phase all brought us good information with results to produce. But we finally found the idea that is going to answer a whole bunch of other risky assumptions in the deepest sense, and that would be the dumb spout test. I like to call it a smart-looking dumb spout test. Now, this spout right here is a this spout right here is intended to have sensor components, battery, charging capability, so that it knows what's supposed to be poured in that bottle and how much has depleted over pour events. So the riskiest assumption is, will bartenders who've been doing this for 30 years, who already pour perfect drinks, you can see, and we're going to give them a spout that looks smart but different than what they use, right? So it's the difference between that and that they already have in their bar. So the questions will be things like, will they mount the spout? If I give it to them, will they put it to use? Will they put it to use for a full shift? Will they clean it? Will they charge it? Right? And then, and of course, will they respond to the test items? But the test items are, how durable was it? Was it comfy? Did it feel good in your hand to pour? Did it get in the way? Did it catch on your clothes? How did it fit in the speed rail? And, are the staff willing to participate? So many of our riskiest assumptions are there, right? Not on my landing page. So, where are we in prototype status? We got a smart looking dumb spout, and I've got them in the speed rails in one of my favorite restaurants here down the street called Cahill's. And they do a lot of volume through their rail. And my friend, who is on my advisory board, she's going to be there to help to administer this test, this evaluation. And it'll be about a week. They'll have them on their rail, um, and then I'm going to take the information that they give me and I'm going to iterate on that. So if they say, "Oh, it's too heavy," it doesn't, it feels out of balance. That's something that I can solve by a slightly different material to produce here. So these kind of things where we're going to use the dump spout to get past all of the psychological barriers of bartenders and owners who desperately need solutions like these. Also, 3D models are in design so that I can do away with the epoxy resin solution I've come to for the dump spout. The sensors and components are all being bench tested currently make to make them speak to each other and to speak to the hub and then speak to the cloud. These are in very early prototype stages, but we do know that minimum viable product must know what's being poured and how much is depleted over the course of pour events. Because that's a manager's only opportunity to make a management decision, unless he's willing to wait a week or a month. Now, with the dump spout phase, we're validating the ergonomics, but also the human acceptance, the environmental durability. We figure this is our quickest path to the fastest, lowest risk path to production ready system. So you'd be asking me, uh, what have we learned, in this process? What have we proven, or at least validated or invalidated, right? It's kind of a mixed bag. Across all the experiments, the evidence here is precision point surgical. The demand is real and immediate. 80% of the folks that I said, I'm ready to run pilot with you. The pain is persistent, meaning every week, if my restaurant group of 5 restaurants has 20 bars between them, and each of them with this partial inventory in vodka, gin, rum, tequila, whiskey, bourbon, scotch, well, then you're going to want to be on the ready to say, okay, well, if my cost of goods sold is this high, which information am I missing? So the attribution is broken and the workflow acceptance is strong. I'm surprised that there's not more resistance to the pro gear, but it's still one of those risky assumptions that we have to get past. Operators want precision tools. We're solving a massive high value problem with a solution the market is actively begging for. Of course, you know that this whole thing is about curiosities, and I know that by class 8, I will still be scratching my head about certain things about the way we do business in the BevOps thing. One of these curiosities is that we're getting to is, can I make these tiny components, no matter how tiny they are? I mean, some of them are still challenging for this form. There's only so much that's not spout here to pack in the components that are required. So that's one big old risky assumption. I got one big old risky as to whether or not we can scale a pilot with working hardware with the minimum amount of friction, because we're doing all the work now. We want to see it progress and grow without it being difficult, because we've already been down that road. Ops Halo Smart Pour delivers what the industry has never had: a source of verifiable truth. The truth about what's poured, the truth about where the revenue is leaking, truth that eliminates the counting and the guessing and transforms beverage operations into a measurable, predictable, even gamified, optimized system. We're building the first real time depletion network, and operators are lining up to join it. I'm glad I had a chance to talk to you guys after this class. I can't wait to see what class number 5 is bringing to the table. Bye, guys. Oh,